This Monday morning edition of Pucks Across Borders on Sports Addict Live and Total Apex Sports, brought to you by none other than First Round Collectibles. With the promo code Sports Addict, you get 10% off whatever sports card your heart desires. What's your sport? Hockey, football, basketball, baseball, maybe wrestling, maybe even boxing, whatever it is, you can get it at firstroundcollectibles.com. They still have sales items up to 50% off. And with our promo code, not only do you get 10% off of regular price items, but sales items as well. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today and find your heroes. That's the number one, STRoundcollectibles.com. Promo code SportsAddict for 10% off. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today. Sports cards for sports fans.
Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah, I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Yeah. Oh yeah, the beast back. Adrenaline pumping through my veins. Can't relax. Original. I am not the same as these cats. I sting them if they never ever.
And welcome, Pucks Across Borders on a Monday morning. Don't know about you, bro. Feeling a bit slow on a Monday, but that's okay. Lots of hockey to talk about from the weekend, and lots to get into for tonight. 4 games in the NHL tonight, and like I said, plus a wild weekend. But first, our homeboy John still out and about. Who knows, really? The more that I get to know John, the more I realize just who knows what that guy's getting up to. He literally could be anywhere. But with me, you read his work about the NFL on Gridiron Heroics. You read his work on Winners and Whiners. You see him talk about football, hockey, basketball at the professional and the college levels, all on Total Apex Sports. Andre, how you feeling on a Monday morning, man?
I'm feeling pretty good, all things considering it is a Monday. Busy weekend, even busier week coming up in every sense of the word. Busy rest of the month. I'm excited for it, though. It's good times. Glad to be back.
Absolutely. So there's lots of other stuff to get into, lots of playoff races. I have a eulogy prepared, as you aptly put it. I didn't know the word for it. You called it a eulogy. If you've been following the NHL even a little bit, you probably know where I'm going with this one. But I gotta ask you, man. I watch hockey every single night. I watch a little bit of every game every night. I've been watching hockey my 34 years on the earth, been watching hockey for the majority of them. I did not know that if you pull your goalie in overtime, you forfeit the loser's point if you lose. And that happened yesterday. Minnesota playing the Wild. They're in overtime. They're quite literally hanging on to their playoff lives. Needed 2 points. Pull their goalie during the 3-on-3. They end up winning the game, getting the full 2 points. Am I the only one? Did you know this? I feel dumb. Like, I had no idea that if you lose in overtime, pulling your goalie, you forfeit the point. Who knew?
Yeah, I knew. It was one of those rules that kind of sits in the back of your brain and you don't think about until it's relevant once a year. That just happened to be yesterday. And I was like, oh, yeah, that is a thing. I think it's from a bygone era, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, there used to be ties. So there was incentive to, make that a thing. Teams would just pull their goalie for fun. if there was no repercussions for it back then. But interesting. I'm curious to know if you agree with the call or not. Obviously, the Wild needed the 2 points a lot more than they could afford to give Nashville the extra point. So I'm curious what you think with the move.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always pretty much always up for like risk like that. I kind of like it takes some serious stones to make that decision, and I kind of like the just go for it mentality. I know Boldy scored the overtime winner, and he didn't know that that was a rule. I'm gonna assume that the coaching staff did. But you know what? I do like it. I think right now, like they're still, what do they got? 65 games played. So they still have 17 games left in the season. They're now 6 points back of the wild card spot. Was it 1,000% necessary? Like, did you really, like, if you only got the 1 point, is it that much of a difference than the 2 points? But I mean, we saw it with Pittsburgh last year, right? They were in a playoff spot all the way till the last day of the season. You just never know. Like, you might be 1 point out. You might miss by 1 point. You just never know. I think when you look at the West, Nashville right now is on an absolute heater, 12-game point streak. Vegas and the Kings both look like an unstable ship right now. Like, they're both kind of treading water. I think Vegas, being the defending champions, I think that generally speaking, we both trust them much more than we trust the Kings. But I do think that every point matters. And if you feel like if you lose that game, but then the other side is 1 point's better than no points. So if you end up losing, I think the fact that it's that classic case of, well, they won, so yeah, great decision. But if they lose, it's like, did you really need to throw up the white flag, or not the white flag, but did you really need to throw that risky of a move in with 17 games left? I don't know. But I'm all about risk, man. I don't know. What about you?
I think given the team they were playing, given the circumstances of, that they're trailing by so much, I think it was necessary. This is a rare time where I think that move was actually worth the risk, because if you lose the extra point against the Preds, you're just making the hole a little bit deeper. I know a 1 point gain isn't much, but it's something. Losing a point against them, it's just putting your season further down in the hole. So, for the Wild, I feel like all or nothing kind of was an apt way to look at it.
Yeah, it is interesting the point that you bring up playing Nashville, because if they're playing like Chicago, is that same decision made? But the fact that they're playing Nashville, a team that they're chasing, what's interesting about Nashville though is like this run, and I mean, you said it during the pre-show, like this run has been just absolutely game changer for the playoff picture, because not only now are they in the playoffs, but they're 3 points up, not quite comfortably in a wild card spot, but they're 3 points up now. They're not just hanging on game by game like they were. The fact that Colorado, Winnipeg, and Dallas are all just so much better than everyone else in that division has made anything other than a wild card spot not a reality for Nashville. But I mean, listen, man, you got the Kings and the Knights both 75 points. Vegas got a big win on Saturday night against Detroit. So, I mean, the more, but I mean, then again, like you're Nashville, I don't know, man. Like as of right now, you're Nashville. You played Dallas in the first round of the playoffs. I really like Dallas. I think that team can go very far. But I also I would not count Nashville out in a 7-game series against the Dallas Stars. Like Nashville's one of those teams, man. Like I really do feel like probably in the West more than the East, but even in the East, like I just feel like every wild card team has a shot this year. Like I don't think it's your stereotypical, 1 versus 8. The 8 gets destroyed. Like I think, other than I don't know, the Islanders, and this kind of segues into my takeaway, but this is kind of, I guess, one big takeaway. The Islanders, man, big win against the Sharks, big win against the Ducks last night. The Red Wings now find themselves out of a playoff spot. They're tied in points with the Islanders, 72-72. Based on winning percentage, the Islanders find their way in. As you also mentioned pre-show, Detroit does have 4 more wins than the Islanders. But they're 2 points back of the Flyers for third in the Met. The Islanders are. The Islanders have 2 games in hand on the Flyers, the Lightning, and 1 game in hand on the Red Wings. Now, as a team as a whole, I prefer the Red Wings to the Islanders. And I know that they were playing the Ducks last night, but I watched most of that game, and that also a little bad beat with the Islanders game that I'll talk about later, but they just looked like a professional hockey team. Like they just looked solid, making good decisions, they got goals from Nelson. Yeah, they got goals from Bo Horvat, but they're getting goals in the depth from their team as well. And we'll talk about it a little bit more, but because they do play the Kings tonight, so we will be talking about them later on in the show. 4 goals plus in 4 straight games, and 5+ goals in 3 of those 4 games, which when we think about the Islanders, it's not typically what you think about. But if you remember earlier in the year when they were winning, that was the thing that really stood out, is that they were giving up a lot of goals, but they were also scoring a lot of goals. And this whole season just feels different from the Islanders teams that we've watched in the past. So I'm really curious to see. And I mean, don't look like now, like it's not just the Islanders, like the Capitals. It just feels like inevitable. Like logically speaking, I don't think the Capitals make it, but we were talking before the show, like it kind of feels inevitable that the Capitals are just going to make it in, because they just feel like that team this year that's just not going to go away. But yeah, that was my takeaway, man, is that the Islanders, the dead cap bounce took a while to get going. But they played themselves right back into the playoff picture. Detroit losing 2 games over the weekend. You lose to Vegas in Vegas on a Saturday night. That's a tough spot. But when you got the Coyotes the night before, you can't get blanked, man. You cannot get, like, that was tough. And John, poor John, being gone from the show for a little bit. First best bet segment with us in a week. And the team he picks to win the puck line loses 4-0. So that's a tough bounce back by John. But yeah, curious your thoughts on this subject, and then also what your takeaway from the weekend was.
Yeah, I mean, gotta give the Owls credit. It's not just the Ducks and the Sharks that they've beaten on this run. They took down the Bruins. They beat the Red Wings, a team they were chasing. Beat the Stars in Dallas. A little bit before that, tight loss against the Lightning. tight loss against the Rangers in that Stadium Series game. I think an OT loss against the Kraken, and then back-to-back wins against the Lightning and the Maple Leafs at the beginning of February. Like, I mean, pretty good run for them at an important time. Some really tough wins. They've definitely earned where they've gotten at this point. Curious to see if it stays. Give Patrick Waugh credit for turning the ship around, especially offensively. There's still a ton of concern with that PK.
Mm-hmm.
The defense has been subpar for the most part in front of Sorokin this season, but in this run, they have not allowed more than 3 goals, which is what they want to do. When we started talking about them earlier this season, we said that was how they were going to win. And, I mean, that's how most teams win. Point being, they're doing it now. You're seeing 2 points follow every single night. It's not a surprise. I feel like the bubble is going to burst. I feel like it came a little too late, but we'll see. I mean, I'm not sure. I don't think the rest of their schedule is that crazy. So.
Yeah, 100%. And there's another part of this conversation that I want to get into, but let's pair it with your takeaway. It's not always that we know what our takeaways are. We kind of go with the wind here, but I happen to know yours. So why don't you hit us with your takeaway, and then we'll carry on this conversation.
You happen to know mine. I don't know how
maybe
I've
not
become that predictable. But of course I'm going to talk about John Tortorella. Tampa Bay, Amalie Arena, celebrating the 20-year anniversary of the 04 Lightning, coached by a certain Torts. His Flyers are in town for the festivities, and they're down early. They're down a lot early. Hathaway gets a game misconduct. Torts isn't happy about it. Torts demands Wes McCauley's attention, doesn't get it, gets tossed instead, refuses to leave, causes a scene. The team loves it. The CEO said, yeah, we're going to pay any fines he gets. So $500K courtesy of the Flyers going straight to the NHL. But the league apparently wasn't happy that Torts just told a ref no when he got ejected. Dude gets suspended. Classic Torts on a night celebrating one of his teams. I love it. Listen, that's a coach, has his guys' backs, right or wrong. That's a coach who loves the game, lives for it. It was incredible. No notes, no other notes. 10 out of 10. Love the dude. That's my takeaway. The Torts cycle's going strong, and he's making his waves through Philly right now. They should love it while they can. They should appreciate every second of it.
That's a Philly coach, man. If I ever saw one, I love it, dude. I think it's awesome. That happened to be this whole weekend for me was just every parlay that I had all weekend. A couple hit, but the majority of them lost by like one leg. And the Flyers was my one leg that lost on Saturday. I thought for sure. And then by the end of the first period, it's 4-0 against Tampa Bay. You're like, okay, that's not coming back. I wasn't watching the game. And in the intermission of the Leaf game, I learned kind of what went down with Torts. It got me thinking on another level too. Like, well, first of all, like you mentioned, the fact that they were celebrating the 2004, like that, the irony there is just beautiful. It's just awesome. I absolutely love it. And also, I can't remember. I heard it this morning. I can't remember the young ref that was on, but he was having a tough night. Not Wes McCauley, but the other guy was having a tough night. He's calling penalties on the wrong team, and it was a bit weird. It was a bit wacky. I miss these coaching personalities, man. Like the John Tortorella, the Pat Burns, the Pat Quinn, the Mike Keenan, like who was the other Philly guy? My mind's blanking. Roger Nielsen. Like, I miss these coaches that'll just like pick up benches and throw them on the ice and throw all the sticks on the ice. And, Pat Quinn was famous for always throwing his gum at the refs. And I miss these crazy coach personalities, man. And for the most part, yeah, you're always going to see refs or coaches kind of chirping the refs and giving it to the refs. But I miss like these guys like Torts that just always look like their house burnt down and just losing their minds. I love it and I miss it and I love to see it. The fact that the Flyers were like, $50K, no problem. That's like no big deal. I think it's phenomenal. I think it's important, and I don't know. I feel like if I was to ask towards this myself, I feel like he would like rip me a new one. Like I feel like he would chew my head off. But I do feel like, you have 74 points. You're 2 points up on the Islanders. One loss and one Islanders win away from being down to the wild card and potentially being out of the playoffs. I think that's an important moment. This game's getting away. You're not getting the breaks. You standing up for your team is like, and plus you just traded away one of your best defensemen. It's this idea of like, I still believe in this year. I still believe in this team. And I still believe that we can do big things. Like I said, if I asked that to Torts, like, was standing up for your team a way to show them that you still believe in this season, like, I would be scared to know what he would say to that. But I'm with you, dude. I absolutely love it, and I think it's important now, right? Because you're tied with Tampa Bay at 74 points. Islanders, Red Wings both at 72. Washington's not far behind. You really need these wins, and to have a loss like that, I do believe a reaction like he had kind of galvanizes the group, right? And I mean, Philly, like I know Philly. You stand up for your guys like that, the whole city's gonna jump behind you for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, let's move on. Before we get into the 4 games on the ice tonight, let's dive into our bad beats. I already teased mine a little bit, so I'll just jump right into it. Last night, I had the Islanders minus 1.5 against the Ducks. I had Bo Horvat goal, Brock Nelson goal, and Bo Horvat 4+ shots. Both goals hit. The minus 1.5 hits extremely comfortably. And Brock Nelson Bo Horvat has 3 shots. So missed out on that parlay by 1 shot. And then Saturday night, and I texted you about this. Saturday night, and I got to remember exactly how this went. I had the Leafs minus 1.5. I had Leafs over 3.5 goals. I had Nylander 4+ shots. There was another leg in that I needed, but I think that was it. No, that was it. The Leafs are winning 3-2. It's the empty net. All right. You got 2 minutes left, empty net. Nylander is on the ice for the entire 2 minutes. I needed him to get 1 shot. I needed the Leafs to get 1 goal to get the minus 1.5 and to get the over 3.5 team total. I needed just 1 shot by Nylander to hit 3 legs at once. And it didn't turn out that way at all. And Nylander, he's been killing my tickets all week long. I think it's a new week. He doesn't play until Thursday. I just need a Nylander break. The guy's been making me money all year, but it's been a tough week for me and Nylander. So taking a bit of a break and moving into to a new week. And like I said, he doesn't play until Thursday when they play Philly funny enough, which is a little bit concerning for me. But anyway, Andre, what is your bad beat from the weekend?
Yeah, if I told you it involved the Blackhawks, I don't think you'd be very surprised. That's how it goes on this show. But yesterday I had a 6-leg parlay, and one leg did not hit. And it was because the Arizona Coyotes could not hold on to a 2-goal lead in United Center. The Blackhawks scored 7 goals
I know.
across the last 2 periods of the game. The Blackhawks to beat the Coyotes 7-4. I don't even know where to start for this one. Colin Blackwell had a hat trick. Good for him, I guess. Chicago, Bedard had 2 goals. Nobody but Clayton Keller scored for the Coyotes until the game was in garbage time. I mean, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, right? All those legs hit. All I needed was a win against the worst team in the league. Excuse me. I know the Yotes aren't world beaters, but they had just beaten the Red Wings 4-0 on Friday. Got to feel good about it. I did feel good about it, especially since I picked them on Friday. I was like, they're playing better lately. This is the Blackhawks. I know they're tougher at home, but it's not because they're scoring. It's because Pete Mrazek's standing on his head. So 2-0 lead, you're feeling, golden. You're starting to count the money. I shouldn't have counted the money. Well, I guess that wouldn't have been yet. The Islanders hadn't played, but I shouldn't have been counting the money, clearly, because what happened next was an avalanche, so to speak, of just Chicago goals. So that's my bad beat.
Well, and it's how it happened too, right? Like you said, they're up 2-0. You blink, it's 3-2. You blink again, it's 4-3 and 5-3. Like it's just, I think it was going into the third period, it was 4-3, and within a minute, it was 5-3. It was just a tire fire, man. I'm right there with you, man. Right there with you. All right, moving on to the 4 games in the NHL tonight. The St. Louis Blues in Boston, plus 190 are the Blues on the road. Minus 230 are the Bruins at home. The plus 1.5 puck line for the Blues is minus 130. Plus 110 for the Boston Bruins is minus 1.5. The over is 6 at plus 105, and the under is minus 125. The St. Louis Blues, who at one time recently were kind of wondering, was this team going to make a final push to get into the playoffs? Still mathematically possible. They have 67 points, 8 points behind Vegas, who holds the second and final wild card spot. Bad time to go on a losing streak. They're on a 3-game losing streak. They are 3-6-1 in their last 10 games. Not much to say from the Blues side. Every prop is inconsistent. I just don't really know. I want to take a St. Louis money line here. The Boston Bruins 5-1-4 in their last 10. They're on a 2-game winning streak. I do think that Boston is a gettable team, unless you're the Toronto Maple Leafs, and then just pick Boston every time, apparently. But I do think I don't know. I'm feeling the over in this game. I feel like this game is kind of a gong show. The over 6 is plus 1.5. You're getting plus money. I do see this game being a 4-3 game. Either way, I don't love Boston on the money line. Clearly, it's a bit expensive, and I don't know if I trust the puck line either. If I was to go one way, I'd probably, it's a little bit juicy, but I'd probably take St. Louis plus 1.5, minus 130. I think the Blues can hang around in this game. I just don't feel like the Bruins, but I mean, that Penguins game on the weekend put that side, the Blues haven't really been putting their necks down and running away with games unless you're the Leafs or the Penguins. I kind of like +1.5 at -130 here, but I like the over more than anything else in this game. The other thing real quick that I will mention, Zaka, 5 goals in his last 4 games, 2 goals in 2 of those games, 1 goal in the other. He is +250 to keep that going tonight. So that's my favorite prop, and the over 6 is my play. What about you, man? What do you see here?
Yeah, I liked the over 5.5 when it was like -120, whatever. -6 or not -6, over 6 at +100 is basically the same thing, just better odds. You can push, obviously, if there's 6 goals. So I'm with you on that one. I think it's just too low. And when you look at what the Bruins have been doing, it's either them scoring 4 or 5 goals or them giving up 4 or 5 goals in these games and only scoring once. That seems to be the blueprint for them lately. That being said, I think this is one of those games where they win 5-1. And it's mostly because the Blues have struggled and sucked on the road all season. Let's just be honest here. And they've lost 3 in a row. Didn't really travel for those games. They were fortunate for that. Got rest between all of them. They were fortunate for that. Long Island to Jersey to the Garden. Gave up 4 goals in every single game. Topped out at 2 goals against the Islanders. Second straight game where they scored 2 goals. Only 1 against the Devils. Alarming. Shut out by the Rangers. Now they're facing the Bruins. Can't see them scoring more than 1 goal. Can easily see the Bruins scoring 4 or 5, as they've been doing when they've won lately. I know it was pretty much the same 2 teams, and then Vegas a couple years before that. But it's encouraging after their slump through February that they're starting to get these wins, especially against teams like Toronto. I know you don't want to hear it. So I'm going to take the Bruins -1.5, especially in TD Garden. I trust them at home. I like the +110. Still plus money, and I'm going to trust it.
Love it. Before we move on, you just reminded me of something. The Boston Bruins beat the brakes off of the Pittsburgh Penguins, and we could save this for another day, but the Penguins don't play tomorrow or don't play tonight. I know we're interrupting our 4-game preview, but I meant to do this in the last block, and I want to just do this real quick, all right? If you don't mind, Andre, I think it's important. The Pittsburgh Penguins, we've been talking about, and I know we're completely throwing off the feng shui of the show, if you will, but the Pittsburgh Penguins, we've been lamenting this team for a while. We've been talking about the post-game pressers by Sidney Crosby. They have 64 points. They are 8 points back, of a playoff spot, 10 points back from third place in the Met. It really does seem like their season is done. And I was thinking about this this morning. It's been a lot of negativity around Pittsburgh for a lot of the year. I think it was, I don't know if it was split 50-50 of people who thought they'd make it and not make it, but this team was not a team that was a unanimous, they're going to the playoffs. Like, this team had a lot of questions all year long, and they are where they are here this year and last year. If they miss the playoffs this year, it'll be 2 years in a row that they've missed it. They have made the playoffs before then every single year since the 2005-2006 season, which was the last year of 4 straight that they did not make the playoffs. Before then, from 1990-91, in which they won the Stanley Cup, the first of 2 years in a row that they would win the Stanley Cup, from 90 to 91, all the way to the year 2000 and 2001, they made the playoffs every year. They missed the playoffs for 4 years straight, like I just mentioned. And from 2006, 2007, they made the playoffs every year until the 2022-23 season last year, where they missed the playoffs. They won 3 Stanley Cups in that time, which means that since 89 and 90, they have only missed the playoffs, if they miss it this year, 6 times since the late 80s. They've only missed the playoffs 6 times. When Pittsburgh drafted Malkin and Crosby and Letang, the whole thought process was, and this was absolutely, they were playing in that old igloo barn. There were rumors of them being moved. They were this depressing franchise. They only missed the playoffs for 4 years, and they were a decade removed from winning back-to-back Stanley Cups. I am very, very curious to see what Kyle Dubas does in the next couple years. Will this be a quick reboot, or are we going to see a Chicago Blackhawks like just absolutely bottom out? I'm really, really curious. I meant to do this in the earlier block to add to the takeaways, but Pittsburgh Penguins fans, you guys have been an organization for the last 3 decades that have had nothing but success. Since I was born in 89, you have won 5 Stanley Cups. You have missed the playoffs 6 times. As a Maple Leafs fan, I don't need to tell you the contrast between our 2 franchises. You guys will be okay. Kyle Dubas, as much as a Leaf fan, as much as he drives me insane in certain aspects, he is not used to losing. The Pittsburgh franchise is not used to losing. I know that 5-1 loss to Boston kind of was not the greatest, kind of realizing what your season has become, but you'll be okay. I believe in you. Just get through the next few years and you'll be just fine. Your franchise is historic. It is a winning franchise, and you'll bounce right back before you know it. Thank you for listening. I know it's kind of random, but I wanted to get that off my chest because I don't really feel like talking about Pittsburgh for the rest of the season. So there you go. There's my farewell to Pittsburgh. You did great. You've done great. Hall of Famers all over that roster. You'll bounce back. No problem. All right. Now, let's move back into our preview of tonight's games. The New Jersey Devils. Our world traveler is not here to defend himself, but his team is the Devils, and they are playing your Rangers. The Rangers are minus 155 favorites at home, while the New Jersey Devils plus 130 on the road. Minus 1.5 for the Rangers is plus 160, while plus 1.5 for the Devils is minus 192. The over is 6.5 at minus 110, and the under is the same. Andre, tee this game up for us. What do you see from your boys in the Garden tonight?
You know, you're such a smart man for not asking me about the Penguins. What I see in this game is a Rangers win in 60 minutes. I know that the Rangers beat the Devils by multiple goals both times they went to Prudential this year, 5-3 and then 5-1. I don't see that happening this time, even though the Rangers are a better team in the Garden. I mean, this is a rivalry. Jack Hughes has given the Rangers fits throughout his entire career. This is a game where I trust the Rangers to win, mostly because, again, home ice, way better defensively and with goaltending, even without Jacob Trouba. But I think the Devils are going to bring it. I think they're going to really want this one for a lot of reasons. They've lost 4 of the last 5. They're trying to turn things around with the new coach, with their retool, if you will, at the trade deadline. This is a team trying to put things together. Carolina kind of pasted them on Saturday. to make their misery worse. They're not going to roll over here. Not like they did a couple weeks ago when the Rangers beat them 5-1. So I'm very hesitant about that puck line. The problem being the Rangers scored 5 goals both times they played them. If the Rangers scoring 5 goals, they're not going to lose, right? You don't think, at least. So a 5-4 game, I think the Rangers pull it out in 60 minutes. I think it's going to be a good one. I think it's going to be hard fought, though. I will concede that this won't be easy. That being said, I said 5-4 game. Obviously, that means I'm leaning towards the over. New York's offense has excelled against Jersey all season. That's most of the total right there. And you're asking the Devils to get 2 or 3 goals for the over to hit, assuming the Rangers get 5 again. That's nothing for that team. So definitely over 6.5. And then I'm going to take the plus 100 on the 60-minute line.
Yeah, I'm right there with you when it comes to the 60-minute line. I'm right there with you on the over. For whatever it's worth, dailyfaceoff.com has Jake Allen as the unconfirmed starter. So obviously unconfirmed means that it's not confirmed, but that's what they speculate on dailyfaceoff.com. I don't really know what that means. I will say to you, I appreciate your humility. I appreciate you saying that the Devils will keep it close. I don't feel that way. I think the Rangers win this by 2+ goals at the plus 160. I was listening to the Devils broadcast on the radio when they were playing Carolina on the weekend, and there's just a lot of I don't know what the right word is. Apathy, is that the right word? Just a lot of like, they played a good game and they're playing better and they're getting there, and it's just, I don't know. I feel like there's just kind of a sad cloud over this team right now. It's difficult for me to kind of buy into anything that they're doing. Yeah, you can argue it'll be 4-3 and an empty netter, make it 5-3. I don't trust the end of the season for the Devils. I know that they added some goaltending. Does that mean they're making a final push? Does that mean that they're, getting the goaltending they think they need for next year? I like Jake Allen. He's a good goalie. Is he the goalie that they needed? Like, I don't really know about that. I don't know. I'm listening to that broadcast the other day, Andre, and I'm just thinking like, man, like the broadcasters aren't even hitting the fans with the truth. Like they're not even hitting it with like that like tough love, It's just, they're doing their best. They're doing their best. It's just, I don't know. That's a weird feeling for me. I don't know. I don't love it. I'm taking the Rangers minus 1.5 here. No crazy props, nothing like that. I feel like the Rangers have been a tough prop team to kind of figure out this year. Overall, you can talk me into a Panarin goal, a Trocheck goal, Kreider goal. You can talk me into it all, but definitely minus 1.5 for the Rangers. Moving on to Washington in Winnipeg. To do a quick little reminder, Washington 69 points. They are 5 points back from third place in the Met, 3 points back from the wild card spot. They are plus 170 on the road in Winnipeg. Winnipeg minus 205. The over is 5.5 at minus 120. The under is plus 100. Plus 1.5 on the Washington puck line is minus 155. Minus 1.5 for the Winnipeg puck line is plus 130. Winnipeg, Vancouver, my most anticipated game of the day. That game on Saturday night, I was so excited for. I could not wait. And before you know it, it's 3-0, 4-0. Vancouver. I didn't think that Winnipeg played a bad game, at least for the first half of it. I just felt like the breaks weren't going their way. Vancouver wanted it just that little bit more. Tough loss. Losing 5-0 to a team at the top of the league, a couple provinces over. I feel like that's a game that you really, really want to have, and they just couldn't get it going. And Vancouver blew them out 5-0. I feel like that's a tough spot for Washington to go into Winnipeg Monday night, couple days removed from the beating that Vancouver put on them, and I feel like Winnipeg is going to get up and get after this game. I do like the -1.5 at +130. I kind of would rather lean just to the 60-minute line. I know you're paying some juice at -125, but I'm kind of leaning that way just because Washington, like we talked about this Washington team, man, like they just do weird things. It's difficult for me to fully trust a puck line when you're betting against Washington. I do like the -1.5 just because I think Winnipeg, they still have a lot of doubters, both fan wise and the media. I think they're still trying to prove themselves to everybody. I do feel like they put a beat down on the Capitals in the Canada Life Center, but I feel like the 60-minute line is a bit of a hedge just because the Capitals do weird things, and that's pretty much been the case all year long. Like I said, a tough night for a lot of people last week. I like a bounce back night for Kyle Connor, +140. I also done really well since he has joined this team. Sean Monahan's +270, and Niederreiter has been lighting the lamp quite a bit lately as well. He's +280. So pretty long odds for those two guys. And I really like them both. So give me Washington -125 on the 60-minute line with an honorable mention to the puck line as well. Andre, what about you, man? What do you see in this one?
I'm just you said Washington -125, but I know you meant Winnipeg, but I just wanted to clear that up.
Yeah,
Watching.
Yeah.
2 W's. I understand, especially on a Monday morning.
Confusing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course. What do you do with this Washington Capitals team is the question. 10-1 aggregate the last 2 games. Before that, it's 5-2 loss to Arizona. Before that, a 5-2 win against Philly. Before that, an 8-3 loss against the Red Wings. Before that, a 6-3 win against the Senators. Before that, an OT loss to the Panthers. 3-game winning streak preceding that, where they scored 4+ goals every single time. Most they allowed was 3. What do you do with this Capitals team? I don't know. I know. Besides penciling them into the Stanley Cup Finals, as I've already done, I really day to day I have no idea what to do with this team. Truly and clearly, Winnipeg has an identity, but they've fallen off it lately. And I'm not going to put too much stock into Vancouver, giving them a 5-piece at home. The Canucks are phenomenal. But, I mean, they gave up 4 to the Kraken 2 games before that. And I know they bounced back with a shutout on the road against Seattle. But this whole giving up 4 goals, 3 goals consistently is not what Winnipeg's about. And I feel like lately we've been seeing it a lot. It's part of the reason I like the over. I could see both teams getting 3 goals in this game. I think whoever wins is going to end up with 4. And that's not leaving a lot of wiggle room for the under. So I would lean towards that over 5.5 at -120. Part of me wants to take the Capitals just to get weird. I don't know. Washington, I feel like you pick against them and then suddenly they're up 4-0 in the first period. You pick them and they're losing like 6-0 halfway through. I don't know what to do here, man. I'm taking the over 5.5. I'll go Washington money line because life is short, and that's that. That's really it.
Well, listen, man, we keep joking around about Washington being a team of destiny and going to the Stanley Cup and all this stuff. I mean, listen, let's just throw it out there. If you are somebody, if you are a viewer right now, first of all, thank you. We appreciate you. Second of all, if you actually do believe in this Washington team, let's throw it out. To miss the playoffs, they are minus 500. But I would not tell you about that if I wasn't going to tell you about the other. They are plus 380 to make it to the playoffs. So what do we say? They're 3 points out of the wild card right now, 5 points out from third place in the Met. Plus 380. I don't know. This team, like, they just haven't gone away all year long. We didn't start this show until the fall, but the Sports Addict Live main show, I said in September, this team cares about one thing and one thing only, and that's Ovi getting his goal record. I didn't think this team was going to be competitive in the slightest, and they've been proving me wrong all year long. Now, let's get extra serious here, Andre. For the Washington Capitals to win the Stanley Cup,
Oh boy.
plus 15,000. Plus 15,000 for this Washington team. For the record, I do not believe that they will win the Stanley Cup. I think that but I also didn't believe that they would be where they are right now. So hey, $10 sprinkle, 1,500 plus money. Hey, why not? Throw it up. Throw it in there. You might as well. They've been proving us wrong all year, so why not throw it in there? All right, good stuff. Let's move on to the last game of, and let me clear this Washington bet off my before I actually, maybe I will. We'll see. Last game of the night, very important game. You got 3 games, 7 o'clock, and you have the one late game. This is where it's frustrating for me, though. You got 2 games, 7 o'clock, which in hockey time is 7:10. Then you have a game at 7:30, which in hockey time is 7:40. And then you have a game at hockey time is 10:40. Like, just 10 o'clock, man. Just bump it up, dude. Like, some of us got to go to bed, you know what I mean? And the whole spring forward time, and it just make it 10 o'clock. Make it nice and easy. But I digress. The New York Islanders are in LA, I believe, to wrap up their West road trip. I believe the Kings minus 162 at home. The Islanders are plus 136 on the road. The over is 6 at plus 100. The under is minus 120. The Islanders plus 1.5 on the puck line is minus 180. And the Kings on the puck line minus 1.5 is plus 150. Andre, what do you see here in this game?
The question for me, whenever I'm looking at a Kings game, is will they score 3 goals? Seems like when they do, you can pencil them in for 2 points. When they don't, just axe them. And the Islanders playing the second half of a back-to-back. Granted, they were in Anaheim yesterday, Orange County, borders LA County. Not having to travel very far. Varlamov, did start that game. So Sorokin is in tonight for them. Gotta like their odds, especially with the way the defense has been playing lately, as is, to keep the Kings under 3 goals. And for as gross as this is, I think the Islanders are going to keep the winning streak alive. Taking that plus 136 money line. They're clicking, especially the offense. We talked about that already. The Kings, I said that 3-goal mark for a reason. Last game, 1 goal. Game before that, 4 goals. Guess which one they lost? Guess which one they won?
Right.
Game before the win against the Senators, 1 goal. 2 games before that, 5 goals apiece. 2 games before that, 2 goals apiece. 3 against the Ducks in a win, 1 against Nashville in a loss. It goes on. The Islanders aren't allowing 3 goals lately. They have their top goalie in. Tired legs on defense, yes, but this Kings offense is the most explosive in the world. Looking at what the Islanders offense has been doing, they've been scoring 3+ goals on really 4+ goals on everybody in their last 5. Probably doesn't happen tonight. Probably only like 3 or 4 tonight, but like I just said, that should be enough to at least get 1 point, if not 2. If you're telling me second half of back-to-back, the Islanders are going to force overtime, I'm pretty much just going to take the shot on the money line. I don't think they're going to need overtime to win this game. They're just playing so well right now and can slow the Kings down that I think the Islanders plus 136 is the best play from this one.
I'm right there with you. I completely agree with you. I think the only thing that throws me off when it comes to the Kings is what you just said at the beginning of that, is that they lost 4-1 against Dallas on Saturday in a game where they looked pretty lifeless. They also squeaked out a victory against Ottawa the night before, or a couple nights before. Regardless, I feel like the only reason that makes me taking the Islanders money line a little bit like hesitant is just because same thing we talked about Winnipeg, right? You lose a tough game, and you want to bounce back. You're at home, but I'm right there with you. I think that like this Islanders team is just playing very structured hockey right now. They're playing very determined hockey right now. They're playing on a mission, and I'm basically saying what you said. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, to piggyback on what you said, the Islanders 4 goals in 4 straight games, 5+ goals in 3 of those 4. They're scoring a lot right now, and the Kings are not. So I like the Islanders as well, plus 136. I'm right there with you. Give me the Isles. I will also quickly add in, as I mentioned, Bo Horvat, 3 goals in his last 5 games, plus 200 for him to score tonight. Nielsen, he has 4 goals in his last 5 games. He is plus 175. Both of them scored last night, and I like them both to do it again. So give me those goal scoring props, and give me Islanders money line plus 136. All right, let's move on to our best bets, brought to you by the one and only First Round Collectibles. Right now, with the promo code Sports Addict, you get 10% off whatever sports card your heart desires, including sales items up to 50% off over at FirstRoundCollectibles.com. With our promo code, not only do you get 10% off of regular priced items, but sales items as well. Hockey, football, basketball, baseball, wrestling, boxing, whatever you want, they have it at FirstRoundCollectibles.com. Number 1, STRoundCollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans. Andre, what is your best bet on this Monday night? Up and down week for us last week, man. Let's get this week off started with a bang, eh?
We will get this week started off with a bang. That's why I'm going to one of the 2 7:00 starts on the East Coast, Northeast, if you will. It's in a garden, but it's TD Garden. I'm not picking my team. Come on. Gotta have some sort of humility here. I'm picking the Bruins -1.5 against the Blues, though. They're at home, where they've been great all season. I know they've fallen off a little bit, but they're taking on a Blues team that struggled on the road all year, a Blues team that is not scoring during this road trip of theirs that I believe is set to end with this game. I'll have to take another look at their schedule, but that's not important. What's important is the Bruins, 5 goals last game, 4 goals a game before that, 4 goals 2 games before that, 5 goals against Vegas on the fake day that is February 29th. Offense, for the most part, has been hot, barring a game against the Islanders, who are also hot, and the Oilers. Goaltending, defense, seldom an issue with this team. Held Pittsburgh to 1 goal, held Toronto to 1 goal twice, held Edmonton to 2 goals. Mark, I'm sorry, I had to keep saying that. But the point being, the Bruins are playing Bruins hockey again. They're starting to get back on track. This is a game they should dominate. This is a game they will dominate. +110 to win by multiple goals, and I am locking it in.
Absolutely love it. I am having a hard time locking in best bet, to be quite honest with you. I think I'm going to go, and I do feel it's a little bit risky, not just because of the odds, but they did play last night in a game that was pretty much decided after 20 minutes. I think I'm taking the Islanders here, man. I'm taking the Islanders money line against the Kings. I just think when I watch the Islanders right now, even when they lose, they just look like a team with a purpose. They look like a team that's determined. They look like a team that is together, where the Kings, when they don't show up, it looks lifeless. Like when the Kings don't show up, it's a mess. And I don't feel that way about the Islanders, even when they lose. When the Islanders lose, they still look like they're in it to win it. I'm taking the Islanders +136. I know that our boy Vin was watching the trade deadline show. I don't know if he's watching now, but I hope he is, because I want him to know that I'm rooting for his boys tonight in LA. Money line 136. Not going any crazier than that. I think that is crazy enough. Give me the Islanders +136 in LA.
I think that's a good bet. And really good odds, +136 there in crypto.com arena. The Bruins puck line in TD Garden, not minus, +110. Parlayed together, that's +395. Not bad for a 2-legger.
Absolutely love it. We know that John would take the Capitals -3.5, so let's just leave that off. But hey, listen, before we get out of here, I just want to thank you to everybody. As we said, we did a best bets show on Friday night before the games. Trade deadline was our most watched show ever. So thank you guys so much for watching in. We got a lot of viewers this morning as well. We appreciate you guys very much. Like, subscribe, the whole deal. FirstRoundCollectibles.com. Good luck on your bet, and we will see you all tomorrow.